to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Slušate svoj mozak uživo. Program će uskoro početi. Uživajte.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and Nick Reiner, he had Sanpaku eyes. I don't even care. It's not hard to see where things were going. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest with you. That family, they had their issues, and it wasn't that hard to see. It wasn't that hard to see. You know what I mean? You go back and you watch interviews, and you're like, holy shit. Kind of was obvious where things were going. Apparently, and this is just coming out of recent reports, he was getting fun at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party with his dad and Bill Hader. And apparently, okay, so his dad and him get into a screaming match because apparently his dad chastises him. Because earlier in the night at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party, this happened at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. Apparently, Bill Hader was having a private conversation with somebody. Nick kind of was hanging around, being weird and whatnot. Eventually, Bill's kind of like, hey, you know, buddy, this is kind of a private conversation. You know, you probably should go a little bit. Nick gets upset. He goes ahead and, gives him some attitude. And then his dad has to come straighten him out. Believe it or not, this kid is in his 30s, and his dad still needs to come and be like, hey, fucking behave. You're at a fucking Hollywood party in Brentwood. You're at Conan O'Brien's. You're at Conan O'Brien's house. He's doing a travel show. You cannot fuck this up for us. He has a good relationship with HBO now because he had one of the best running television shows where he played ping pong and like hung out with celebrities or whatever he did that made him famous. And also his remotes were kind of my favorite thing that he did. But anyways, apparently Bill Hader, he was like, hey, we're having a private conversation, leave us alone. And then Nick gets upset. His dad chastises him, and then later, apparently the fight was so bad, it makes Rob Reiner and his wife leave. But apparently his son's like, yeah, I'm gonna chill at the party for a minute later. And then later the next day he kills him, and apparently it happened earlier than we expected. So he's being charged on all things. This isn't even our first story. I just wanted to get into the details, you know what I mean. Apparently this all happened before the night he went cuckoo. So, I don't know. Interesting developments, cool stuff to talk about. I think that actually we have such a good serving of stories for you today, folks. We have a lot of good stuff. We got a few good stories. We got one from San Francisco. We got, what else do we got looking down this list? We got another one that's based out of, Minnesota. We got, I'm not gonna reveal everything. As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump into the first story because, folks, if you're whitey, I would start shaking in your boots. Whitey, watch out, folks. If your skin tone is lighter than Pantone 727, I mean, watch out for your wallets. Your 401ks, everything. Especially if you live in the great city of San Francisco. Black San Franciscans are having reparations placed back on the table as the generational welfare state is in danger of rapidly expanding. Folks, if you're not aware of what reparations are, they're a very complicated legal proceeding where essentially they haven't been practiced on a wide scale and anywhere substantial. So there's arguments as to whether or not they would work. There's arguments as to whether or not they're even warranted, but the basic premises behind it, and I'm going to try to word it in the most layman's way possible. Your great-great-grandfather, at this point, was a slave. You, as a result, feel as though that even though redlining was ended in the 68 Housing Act, even though, we had the Fair Housing Act, we had the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, we had the Community Reinvestment Act, we had all of these things back in the 70s, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that it's that long ago, like it isn't, but that's like 2 or 3 people ago. I'm not even going to lie to you. That is a while ago. And essentially the idea is you cannot get over the issue of the fact that your grandfather was a slave over 150 or so years ago. You are disadvantaged. You cannot, for some reason, advance yourself in any meaningful way because, I don't know, maybe maybe you're shooting other people on your block that you don't even own because, I don't know, that's just like, listen, there's other reasons to explain why people are in poverty that you look at and you go, well, you know what I mean? There are certain other issues where you look at it and you go, well, listen, other immigrants have come to this place and they've managed to climb up the social ladder to an extent and whatnot. They haven't had the setbacks and whatnot that black individuals have had. But at this point, the playing field is leveled. We have outreach programs. We have college admission programs. We have all of these things that inarguably are, in some instances, advancing black students over white students. So what I'm saying is that the gap that we claim exists is beginning to shorten. It's beginning to close. It's beginning to become non-existent. But despite all of this, the board of San Francisco is going ahead and proposing reparations, where essentially, I didn't even fully explain it, your great-grandfather was not able to escape slavery until they abolished it. And then, essentially, because, A, he was a slave, and you are black now, that entitles you to money from people who may not have even owned your grandfather, people who, in the community around you, just go, oh, poor black person, here's some money. Listen, I don't know if I would feel good about getting that kind of a handout based on my race. I don't know if I would feel good about that in any situation. But on December 16th, 2025, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors unanimously, inarguably approved an ordinance establishing a dedicated reparations fund for black residents. What does that mean? It's marking a renewed push to address historical harms from city-sanctioned discriminatory policies. Sponsored by Supervisor Shaman Walton, the measure creates a structural framework to accept future contributions from city appropriations, private donations, foundations, corporations, or individuals without allocating any initial public funding. This is good. You know what I mean? No public funding. If you would like to privately donate, or if you as a corporation would like to donate to it, this is how I think reparations could and should be handled. It should not be a public matter. It should not be, oh, on your taxing, we're going to have a honky tax. We're going to calculate your level of whiteness, and we're going to tax you appropriately based on how much you, as existing, are oppressing black people. This step revises elements of broader reparations efforts that have been stalled amid budget deficits and fiscal challenges in recent years, effectively placing the issue back on the table as advocates seek to concrete progress beyond prior symbolic actions like the city's 2024 formal apology. The city in a state that wasn't even a slave state had to issue an apology for racism. Very curious, very interesting. The initiative builds on the 2023 final report from the city's African American Reparations Advisory Committee, which outlined over 100 recommendations to remedy systemic issues such as urban renewal projects since the 1950s to 70s, and that displaced black families from neighborhoods like Fillmore and the Western Addition, redlining, mass incarceration disparities, and ongoing inequities. Inequities are not always attributable to societal ills. What I mean by that is that maybe some instances where 13% of the population are committing 50% of the crimes. I'm not trying to be a white supremacist. I'm just bringing out facts from the Census Bureau FBI statistics. When you have cultural issues that can also be blamed for the inadvertent amounts of them that end up in jail. I don't know what else you can say besides the fact that maybe the best option for not ending up in that situation is picking up your dad's gun because he isn't there to be the man of the house, the homie of the house, so you have to get up there like CJ from GTA San Andreas and shoot up your block. You know what I mean? I think that maybe instead of that, you could work on going to school. I don't know. There's options for what you can do with your time. What I'm saying is that gangbanging isn't always the most productive way to advance yourself. San Francisco's black population has declined about 5% of residents while disproportionately representing homelessness and poverty. Walton emphasized that the fund lays foundation infrastructure, expressing hope for external funding sources to support potential awards for those demonstrating harm from past policies or ties to U.S. slavery lineage. While ordinance avoids immediate taxpayer costs, the concession is likely aiding passage among moderates. It has drawn mixed reactions. Proponents view it as a pivotal advancement towards accountability and wealth-building opportunities for Black San Franciscans. Critics, though, question feasibility and distribution fairness, noting that the absence of committed dollars and the city's ongoing financial constraints are kind of, they're not laying a perfect groundwork for the future of it. No specific payout amounts, such as the controversial $5 million lump sum proposed in earlier drafts, are included here. The fund focuses on enabling future implementation if resources materialize, with potential debates continuing into the next year. Let's just listen to this clip from Bay Area ABC 7 News. Why not?
Story we've been following for several years. Reparations for Black San Franciscans are back on the table.
And today, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors passed...
One quick question. How black do you need to be? I would like to ask that because I have roughly 1% sub-Saharan African, and I have 1% Democratic Republic of Congo in me. So, what I would like to say is that I, while not having any slave lineage, as far as I know, would like to claim reparations due to the fact that, I have a tinge of olive to my skin.
A measure that would create a fund designed to help Black people who have been harmed by past city laws, including redlining from the 1950s through the 70s.
ABC's
I've been hurt by many city laws. For example, parking ordinances. Just because I block the ambulance line does not mean that you need to ticket my Nissan. What I'm saying is that my priorities are important. I'm not saying that your whatever they might be doing, emergency services, you know what I mean? It's debatable how much emergency they really respond to these days. Half the time they don't even show up. But this is not the place to criticize the Fargo PD.
7 News political reporter Monica Madden is digging into the story for us. Monica, how much money would be added into this fund?
Dan and Alma, that's the kicker here. As things stand right now, the city is not appropriating a cent towards this reparations fund that might have made it easier to get the board's full support when the city is in a financial deficit. But supporters say, at the least, this sets up the framework for actual funding in the future.
I think it means repair.
As a descendant of slaves, James Taylor has long advocated for reparations.
My own hands have touched my grandfather's hands, and my grandfather touched his grandfather's hands, and that was a slave.
My hands, they touched my grandfather's hands, and my grandfather's hands touched his grandfather's hands, and that was a slave. So, okay, I have a great idea. I touched my grandfather's hands, who touched his grandfather's hands, who touched his grandfather's hands, and that great-great-great-grandfather was an Injun who got his face blasted off and his land stolen. And as a result, I want all of White Earth. I want all of White Earth. I mean, this guy, I'm not even going to lie to you, he doesn't seem that harmed by slavery in general. He's wearing Steve Jobs level sweaters. He's got nice little stupid round glasses. I mean, he looks like one of those, what are the raisins that sing? You know, the ones they stand in a quartet and whatever. I'm sorry. Listen, he seems like a perfectly fine fella. I'm kind of an odd fellow, you know what I mean? James Taylor, PhD. San Franciscan African-American Reparations Committee member. Well, that explains his position.
So think about how recent that is, and how economically the empty hands of my grandfather left me with nothing because the empty hand of his grandfather.
Guess what, broke ass? A lot of us start with nothing. You know what? You know what's the most interesting thing? A lot of us start out with nothing. Very many of a lot of us. The American lifestyle, the way, is that your parents don't really help you out very much once you move out of the house. They help you here and there, if they can even. You know what I mean? Some people don't have that opportunity, but it's that. You know what I mean? A lot of fucking people don't have shit when they grow up. That's just kind of how it works. It's white people that are growing up in Appalachia. It's Asian people that are growing up in the ghettos of Chinatowns all across the United States. I'm sorry to say it to you, but everybody, the story of America is people being brought here, regardless of it was their choice or not, and ending up starting out with nothing. It's a Grand Theft Auto game. That's what it is. It's a video game. Have you not played a video game ever in your life where you come to the city, you start off with very little, you start off with nothing, you start off with like $10 in your wallet so that you got enough to go to the Cluckin' Bell to like level up your character's health. But then after that, essentially, you know, that's it. You know what I mean? You have to do a little bit of some work here. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? We can have some government programs if you want some. Early childhood and parent support. You know what I mean? Like universal pre-K, you know, ages 3 to 5, home visiting programs, parent education support, school choice, accountability, not just funding. You know what I mean? Charter schools with stricter performance oversight, open enrollment across district lines, and shit like that, so that parents will actually have an option to take their kids out of schools that are failing. Vocational and technical high schools, curriculum transparency. Parents know what's being taught. All this sort of stuff can actually have some strong gains for Black and low-income students. I'm not lying to you. It'll have better college persistence. It'll reduce achievement gaps. You can have skill-based workforce paths, not college for all type things, but apprenticeships, paid training, community college pipelines tied to local employers, trade certification subsidies, licensing reform, all that sort of shit. You know what I mean? Family instability. I'm sorry, but you got to talk about the male employment issue in the Black community. You got to talk about children being raised in a 2-parent household doing better across races. It's not just like the single motherhood rate is ridiculous in a lot of communities. Yes, it is. But the Black single motherhood rate is ridiculous when you compare it to any other category. Male joblessness correlates strongly with crime and poverty. That's just a fact. Earned income tax credit expansion for childless workers would be great. Criminal justice reform focused on re-entry, not abolition. Remove marriage penalties in welfare programs. Target job placement for non-violent ex-offenders. You know what I mean? There's different ways that we can do this sort of stuff that's not immediately blanket defunding, you know what I mean? Over-policing minor offenses, you know what I mean? Cutting off certain social welfare policies and whatnot. Listen, housing mobility is also one of the major things we got to look into. Entrepreneurship in general, capital access, not cash transfers, all that bullshit. Health and environmental access, you know what I mean? I think that we need to work on those sorts of things. They're gonna actually work. You're gonna reduce resentment among races. It's gonna increase mobility. It's gonna strengthen families. It's gonna preserve merit. In general, we gotta just stop going ahead. We gotta stop going ahead, and we gotta stop going. Tax everybody and then immediately pass the money on to disadvantaged, whatever disadvantaged means. You know what I mean? There's ways to fix this without creating a bottom line tax. It's ridiculous. Reparations in general have been proven in every situation they've been tested to increase resentment among races, making each other, everybody in the community feel like, well, you're just getting handouts. I'm sorry to say it. EBT is already the closest thing we have to reparations. That's a joke, but it's also really true.
Father, who started in slavery, left him nothing.
Taylor says he's pleased San Francisco is revisiting the issue after the
I'm
city
sure you
rejected
are.
a
I'm sure you
controversial
are.
proposal to pay a lump sum of $5 million.
Is the person who's like a member of the committee, the person who's like got a cozy government job for San Francisco, is he going to get reparations? Can you imagine how far this goes? You see a Black person who's the head of Quaker Oats San Francisco division, you know what I mean? And then he's getting reparation checks from this family that moved in from Eastern California, trying to make their way out on the coast. And maybe their kids are going to school in a not great area. They have to walk up those stupid, like really steep streets, all that shit every day. They feel awful about themselves. San Francisco has enough problems enough. Don't ask me about San Francisco snow. San Francisco snow is a term that is allegedly, it's so common for car windows to be smashed from carjackings that you will see glass all over the roads because they call it San Francisco snow. It's the broken glass from fucking car windows. It's ridiculous. So I'm just curious, who is going to qualify for this? Is it going to be like you're going to be working at a bank and then Shaniqua across the aisle, you guys both work in the same cubicle, but all of a sudden she's getting a check from the government because, for some reason, even though she has the same level of upward mobility, maybe your parents are actually doing worse than her parents were. Maybe they were able to afford a decent school because her parents, even though they were black and had disadvantages, were able to lock in. Your white, lazy-ass parents weren't, you know what I mean? But for some reason, she just has a better start in life, but she qualifies as deserving of this program because, hey, maybe her great-great-grandfather was a slave, and then suddenly she's getting a check from the government, and you go, well, wait a minute, not only does she have advantages in life that I didn't have, but also, her parents were able to just lock in. I'm sorry, but it's also just a matter of your parents being able to lock in, and if your parents aren't able to lock in, I'm sorry, you're not going to be left with anything. And listen, I don't know what else to say except for the fact that it's going to create even more resentment if you have government-laden programs going ahead and passing out checks to people based on race. I don't think it looks good on paper. I don't think it looks good when you say it out loud.
$1 million to qualifying black residents in 2023.
This most certainly is different than asking the city to pony up dollars to support reparations recommendations.
Supervisor Shaman Walton's ordinance merely sets up the fund to receive money either appropriated by the city or privately donated.
It's going to take some time. We got to build a pot and then, of course, come up with the criteria in terms of how we're going to prioritize what recommendations we address first. But this is a major first step.
Some of the city's previous recommendations for black reparations range from assistance with down payments for buying a house, improved access to education, and cash payments.
Redlining, making us pay taxes for education where our children couldn't go to those certain...
These practices have been done. They've been nixed. They have not been happening since the 1960s. 70s, if you want to be absolutely fair. I'm sorry, you can't keep... This is the argument you always hear. I used it myself when I was really far left, and I was like, give black people all the money. You know what I mean? I was like, I'll give them my fucking eye. I'll give them anything, because I was one of those white people that love to flog themselves and be like, I'm so good because I want to give so much money to the black people. I'm sorry, it's just like, it's a mindset. It's kind of a white guilt. It's like a I hate myself for being white mentality that a lot of people get into. And it's white shame because they go like, well, we had so many advantages that other people didn't. And maybe if I talk about it enough, it'll make me a better person. And I go, yeah, I guess. It makes you a better person because you sit and worry. But when's the last time I saw you write a check for Tyrese down the street and his son who can't afford college? Like, what are you really doing to improve any black life in your life? I'm sorry.
Pushing us out, gentrification. There's so many things that...
I voted for Kamala Harris. That was enough black donation for 2024.
Have been done to us systemically, as we have seen populations, we have seen races, we have seen ethnicities receive reparations. But we have not seen that for the black population.
If funded, San Francisco would be one of the first major U.S. cities to act.
What I love is that a lot of them pronounce it the black population. They just give it like the full lips, the black population. It's very like a roll off the tongue style.
Actively offer reparations for black residents.
So who would be eligible? Black San Franciscans who can prove that they were harmed by past discriminatory city policies or prove lineage tied to slavery in the U.S. could tap into this fund once there's money. And worth noting, though, part of the pushback in the past was the cost with San Francisco's repeated budget shortfall in recent years.
Wait a minute. Okay, so you have to qualify that you have previously been harmed by a discriminatory practice. This is such mumbo-jumbo legal shit that your lawyer can argue for anything. Like, oh, they were charged with a marijuana thing back in 2002. Give them a check. And marijuana violations were inadvertently used to target and persecute brown and black people back in the 60s. So blah, blah, blah. Give them a check. You know what I mean? There's going to be ways to do this. But folks, keep an eye on this. If your city is trying to do any bullshit like this, go ahead and say, I think I'm good. I think I'm okay. Or you know what? Do what you want to do. If you want to hand out a check, I'm not going to stop you. I think you're an even better person than me. And you know what? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you what to think. You formulate your opinion. But I will tell you what opinion to have. You should go over to our sponsor today, introducing Reparations Plus, the guilt-free wealth redistribution service. Are you a hardworking American whose ancestors arrived after 1865, or maybe even fled oppression themselves? No problem. Thanks to San Francisco's groundbreaking reparations fund, you can now proudly contribute to cash payouts for Black residents, even if their great-great-grandpa was the only enslaved person in their family tree. And even if your family never owned a single slave, or plantation, or cotton gin, or anything remotely Southern, it's intergenerational injustice at its finest. You pay for today's sins you didn't commit to people who didn't personally suffer from them. Fairness redefined. But wait, why stop at American slavery? Upgrade to our premium Reparations Plus Deluxe package. And for just an extra 15% tacked onto your city taxes, we'll hire top generational theologians, like people who dig deep in that shit, into your family history to uncover every historical wrong that has ever been done to your bloodline. Irish potato famine will build a British crown. Italian immigration facing no Italians need apply signs will sue the 1920s nativists or their distant cousins. Jewish ancestors fleeing pogroms will track down the Cossacks' great-great-grandkids and send them an invoice. Serfs of the medieval Russian Empire, Vikings raid your Celtic village, will find the modern-day descendants and make them pay you. Act now and lock in this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to turn historical grievance into endless, self-sustaining money go-arounds. Please, just because of nothing says healing the past like forcing today's baristas, Uber drivers, and software engineers to fund tomorrow's lottery winners. All while promising that someday someone might cut you a check too. Reparations Plus, where everyone's a victim, everyone's a payer, and nobody's responsible. Void anywhere logic applies. Fund currently contains $0. Results may vary. Side effects include chronic resentment and bankruptcy. Folks, I want to go ahead and I want to hop into our second story. It's a big one. It's a big one that I want to cover because it involves my home state. Tim Walz. Timmy. I love Tim. Tim Walz, he's a goofball. That's a good way to say it. He's goofy. He is, he's very, he's hot dish made a person. You know what I mean? Not like a person made hot dish. Hot dish made a person. And that's him. And I love it because it's all fake. And he's from Nebraska. He's really a cornhead. It's not a pornhead, a cornhead. But folks, Tim Walz, he signed 2 executive orders aimed at curbing gun violence Tuesday. Launches into a bizarre rant targeting gun owners as uncaring, and he calls arguments against gun control bullshit, employing the classic shame on us campaign. Folks, on December 16th, just yesterday, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz signed 2 executive orders aimed at reducing gun violence and enhancing public safety. This action followed slated legislative efforts to pass stricter gun control measures, including bans on assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines after high-profile shootings earlier this year. These included the June assassination of former House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the August mass shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church and School in Minneapolis. There were 2 children that were killed and dozens were injured. Surrounded by Democratic lawmakers, gun violence prevention advocates, and affected families during a Capitol press conference, Walz described the orders as initial steps where broader legislation had faced Republican opposition in a divided state legislature. The first executive order expands public education and outreach on Minnesota's extreme risk protection orders, known commonly as red flag laws, which allow temporary removal of firearms from individuals deemed a threat. It also promotes safe gun storage practices, including providing guidance, gun locks, and safes to families through partnerships with the Department of Education and Department of Public Safety. Additionally, it directs the Department of Commerce to collect data from insurance companies on firearm-related claims and injuries, making Minnesota the first state to quantify the economic costs of gun violence for potential policy insights. The second order establishes a statewide safety council, comprising law enforcement, educators, mental health experts, and community leaders tasked with developing strategies to prevent mass violence, targeted attacks, and domestic terrorism, with recommendations expected within a year. I mean, very interesting. These measures are modest compared to Walz's earlier calls for legislative action and do not impose new restrictions on gun ownership or sales. Walz emphasized that they do not limit your freedoms at all, while criticizing inaction amid public support for stronger measures, citing polls showing majority backing for assault weapons bans. Mostly because a lot of people don't understand what assault weapons means. You ask people what AR means, they will not tell you it means Armalite. They will go, it's assault rifle, right? They are retards, and they're people who shouldn't even have an opinion on this sort of situation, just honestly, from my point of view. Republicans, including Senate Minority Leader Mark Johnson, dismissed the orders as insufficient, advocating instead for mental health support, school security enhancements, and tougher penalties for violent criminals. I mean, that's also, can we just also say that Mark Johnson's idea isn't terrible? The idea of mental health support being a good idea, school security enhancements, yes, maybe. Maybe we should start having metal detectors at every school. I'm not even lying. That's like a good idea. You know what I mean? Tougher penalties for violent criminals. Why not? Minnesota, you could kill your wife with an axe and you could get probation. I'm not even going to lie to you. Like California, if Nick Reiner killed Rob and whatever her name is, let's be real, it's his wife, it's Rob Reiner's wife. Rob and his wife, if they lived in Minnesota and Nick killed him here, he would have gotten probation for 3 months, and they would have handed him a check on his way out the door. They would have been like, get yourself on your feet there, bud. Get yourself like a nice apartment in Audubon or some shit. Or maybe head east for Brainerd, and you're going to get some good property. Just make sure to be to your court date, all right, in 6 years. I honestly think that Rob Reiner, if his son wanted to get away with it, he should have just encouraged the entire family to move up. Move up. And he's like, look, Dad, I know that we've had our issues, but I really think that we crave Minnesota. Don't you want to live in Minnesota, Dad? And then Rob would have been like, what is in Minnesota? And then his son would have been like, I honestly don't know. I think they wear snowshoes and shit. They like wear little hats or something. I don't know. And then they eat birds. That's what they do up there. They do some real fun stuff. And then if he managed to convince his dad to do it, man, Minnesota, they would have actually had a parade for him. They would have had a parade. They would have been like, the day that this young, brave drug addict killed his oppressive, non-polyamorous mother and father. What a good man. He truly represents Minnesota's values. I mean, gun rights groups viewed them as political maneuvering rather than substantive solutions. The orders mark the first by Minnesota governor specifically focused on gun violence protection, setting the stage for potential debates in the 2026 legislative season. Let's listen to his claims directly. I want to get it directly from the cow's mouth.
This is the oldest strategy in the world. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if we can define what an assault.
Can I just say, comb your fucking hair. Comb your hair.
Weapon ban, assault weapon is.
By the way, did you hear that Freudian slip? We can't define an assault weapon ban. He wants a full assault weapon ban. He wants to come into your home personally and take your assault rifles. That's just a fact. I'm sorry. Tim Walz wants to come into your home and he wants to take your guns while you're having tea. He wants to walk into your home and he wants to go, get her. And then then you will have like 6 police grabbing you, twisting your arm around your back and slamming you onto the table. And then he's going to go, where's your safe? And then he's going to do this to every goddamn house. They're going to break in. They're going to be, the SWAT teams when they rappel, Christmas Vacation. At the very end when they are like celebrating and he's like, Merry Christmas to all, and then they kidnap the guy, so obviously the SWAT teams come in and they rappel and they all smash through the windows, they smash into the house all at once, they raid it. That's exactly, Tim Walz is going to go house by house. There's millions of homes in the state of Minnesota, and it will be apartment buildings, it will be homes, it will be home by home, apartment by apartment, unit by unit. He will hit every single place until every single firearm in the state of Minnesota is confiscated. He's like, look, we just want an assault weapons ban. We just want to take away everything.
I don't know if we can define what an assault weapon is.
He goes, assault weapon is. He like corrects himself. He's like, oh, maybe I can save it.
I don't know. Do you really think limiting them to less than 100 bullets is going to do anything? Yes, it is. Yes, it is going to save lives.
Most of the instances of gun violence don't involve assault weapons or magazines of over 100 bullets. So inadvertently, you're actually targeting people who, A, are not the majority of the criminals that you're targeting. If you want to go after the majority of the criminals, you're going to have to go after handguns, which you're going to have a whole issue there. I don't know what else to tell you, buddy. You're just up here proposing things that are never going to work. You live in America, you goddamn idiot. You need to understand that you're working in a system. You're not in Australia. I'm sorry, we're not as big of cowards. People talk about how tough Australians are. They had a buyback program, and a majority of them did it. They handed over the guns. They went ahead and and now they are being oppressed by their government just as ruthlessly as the United Kingdom is. Once you take the guns, you're able to absolutely oppress your people. It's inadvertent and it's real. And if you say that you're being alarmist or whatever, it's proven that every single time. Mao took the guns, Hitler took the guns, every single person that targets a group of people, they take your guns first in order to make sure that you are not able to defend yourself. It's a fact. It's a fact. You can track it through history.
Just like the extreme risk protection orders, which I can pull quotes from many of these folks who said, this will do nothing. This will not protect lives. This will take away our freedoms. It's time to start reporting that is all bullshit. It does do something. It does make a difference. And to stand here and have to look in the eyes of parents who lost their little ones.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Enough. Stop. Just because you have people that are grieving to point at doesn't mean you should. How do you think these people feel being political pawns? They probably feel great because they're like, hey, at least my child is getting attention. They didn't have to die for nothing. But goddamn, it's ridiculous to go ahead and say, well, I have to sit here and I gotta look in the eyes of people. It's emotional plea. It's silly. I can't take it real. He has such Wizard of Oz energy, like, don't look at me behind the curtain, you know what I mean?
And to stand here and have to look in the eyes of parents who lost their little ones, shame on them. And shame on us if we don't get this done.
There you go. See, he goes like, shame, shame, shame on you. I'm sorry, guys. We gotta... Okay. I don't want to say Tim Walz needs to be ousted as, like, a person in the Democratic Party. But... in terms of, like, he is a Yoko Ono to our Beatles. Listen, Nancy Pelosi is a Beatle. Chuck Schumer's a Beatle. You know what I mean? These are classic, old-school Democrats. You know what I mean? Yoko Ono's of these parties, you know what I mean? That's AOC. That's Zora Mamdani. You know what I mean? It's these fellas that... we have a good vibe going, guys. We're, like, generally liberal-leaning. We just want to push forward, decent policy, but we don't want to be ridiculous about it. We don't want to steal a bunch of people's money. It's the libertarian wing of the Democratic Party. It's a nice little party to be in. But then you have this nice groove going where we're out here making Sgt. Pepper. We're out here with Chuck Berry. We're out here, hanging out. And then for some reason, we have this girlfriend, Yoko Ono, Tim Walz, who needs to, for some reason, be at the recording sessions. He needs to be at the Democratic National Convention. And then John Lennon, who was Kamala Harris, you know what I mean? She was a stay party member. She was like a common fixture where it was like, she's maybe not the greatest person, but, she's the head. She's the head of the organization, and maybe we can get behind her. Then she just pulls out this weirdo from Minnesota who I'm sorry, Minnesotans, they're not the most normal people. I can vouch, I'm one of them. They are just kind of like, they say things that are out of turn, that are just weird, that are uncomfortable. Like, they have Yoko Ono energy where they just fuck up the flow. And I'm sorry, I have this example. We have this clip here that is actually, it is at the Democratic National Convention. It's actually Chuck Berry and John Lennon hanging out with Yoko Ono on the mic. They're playing music, and then... so essentially, this is how it was. In this clip, Chuck Berry and John Lennon, that's Joe Biden, that is Kamala Harris. This was the state of the Democratic Party back in 2020, where these two were vibing, you know what I mean? We had the dementia patient and his black friend, and they were just hitting the bass together, and they were going... they were playing a good tune, and then all of a sudden, Tim Walz, this weirdo who took a bunch of visits to China when he was a youngin' in order to be influenced, goes ahead and hops on the mic at the DNC. This is Tim Walz at the DNC right after, while Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are playing the bass. This is Tim Walz hopping on the mic. Roll this tape. Please, please. That is just, listen, Tim goes on, he hops on, Yoko does all this weird shit that makes everybody uncomfortable. They go, wait, you're leaning into Maoist China too much. Your Elmer Fudd personality is slipping. I'm sorry, it fucks up the vibe. Yoko, we need to kick her out. We need to kick Tim Walz out. Her weird vocalizations are not helping the vibe. We need to move on. We need to do Abbey Road, you know? I'm sorry, guys, but we need to... This is the Beatles. The Democrats are the Beatles right now. And you know what I mean? We need to find our flow again. We need to, instead of this kind of weird angle that we're going into, where it's like, it's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. It's like... We're in a weird kind of vision-y world where gender isn't real, where, like, you know, maybe we should give black people all the money. Maybe we should just have no borders. Maybe we should let anybody in who wants to come in. You know, we're in a very kind of like you're traveling down a river, you're not really paying that much attention. We need to stop this kind of creative era that we've had with the Democratic Party that kind of it really occurred post-Obama, post his second term, because he was relatively mild-mannered and conservative in his first term. Then he went ahead and just went a little bit further. But I will just say, we need to find our footing again. We need to go Abbey Road. You know what I mean? We need to find the sun again. Here comes the sun. That's gotta be us. We have to find our vibe again. Otherwise, I swear to God, we're gonna get shot outside a hotel. We are going to be shot outside a hotel by some glassed freak who's gonna sit down next to our body while Tim Walz is crying. And then he's going to read Catcher in the Rye while the Republicans win every election from here to 2060-something. I know it's a grim prediction, but we got to jump into the rapid-fire section of today's headlines because there's too much to cover, folks. We're gonna end that Tim Walz section. I'm done ranting. I think that he's going to lose the next election, but we'll see where it goes. Folks, we have the rapid-fire section of today's headlines. There's a lot of shit that you need to know about. There's a lot of things that you need to keep updated with in order to stay relatively well-informed. So let's begin. The Australian Bondi Beach shooting suspect has been charged as the funerals have begun. Authorities in Australia have charged 24-year-old Naveed Akram with 59 offenses, including multiple counts of murder and terrorism over the mass shooting at a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach that killed 15 people and injured dozens. The funerals for the victims, including community leaders like Rabbi Eli Schlanger, began as the nation mourns and debates new scrutiny and gun control measures. You know, I don't know what else to say. That's really tragic. The U.S. Powerball jackpot soars to about $1.25 billion. If you're a real scummy person, or if your parents are really big losers, they play this. The Powerball lottery jackpot for tonight's drawing has climbed to approximately $1.25 billion. After no winning ticket was sold in the last draw, this ranks among the largest jackpots of the year, sparking widespread public interest and ticket sales across the United States. If you buy into it, I don't know what else to say. The Indian Prime Minister is to address the Ethiopian Parliament. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to speak before a joint session of Ethiopia's Parliament during the official visit to Addis Ababa, highlighting Ethiopia and India ties and likely addressing strategic, economic, and regional partnerships. Yeah, good for them. I mean, whatever. I'm not that interested in India, I'm not even going to lie, but I always try to include stuff from the Eastern world in order to keep people updated in that front. China adjusts EU pork duties after a year-long investigation. China's Ministry of Commerce announced anti-dumping duties on European Union pork products that are lower than expected following a long investigation. A move that affects international trade and agricultural markets. Fun. Oh, shit. Mike Lindell, he's making a TikTok. Mike Lindell is officially on TikTok. Mike Lindell, 17, apparently. Why couldn't you just do Mike Lindell? He's, running for governor of Minnesota, as we all know. He's recently launched a TikTok in order to try to get on to the front of the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha. And I'm not even going to lie to you. If he keeps up this old man energy, and if he, makes Dr. Phil co-governor, even though he lives in Oklahoma, I don't give a shit. I might have to vote for him over Tim Walz. I'm not even going to lie to you. Listen to this gentle election denier, this gentle figure.
Hello, everyone. This is Mike Lindell. As you probably already heard, I'm running for Minnesota governor.
Yes, you are.
I'm in it to win it. We just came to our first event now. Today it's the Minnesota GOP State Central Committee meeting. We just arrived. It's going to be a very exciting day. If you guys want to learn a lot about what's going on with my campaign, it's MikeLindellGov.com. Thank you and God bless.
I mean, he's a grandpa. He is a grandpa. He's a gentle figure. He doesn't love anybody of like a different religion than Christianity. Or if you're an atheist, I'm sure he scoffs at you at dinner. So he may not get along well with me. But he's a genteel figure. He's exactly what Minnesota needs. He is kind of a reset. Listen, I think that, Minnesota has gone too far with the liberal grandpa. Liberal grandpas are fun until they start going you tell them about how your school is not telling you that your kid is apparently just thinking about transitioning, and your grandpa goes, well, really, the kid's got to figure that out. And you go, whoa, left-leaning grandpa, you're going way too left-leaning. I think we need a little more right-wing grandpa energy. Listen, I talked about this in many episodes before. Boomers have gotten boring, and they're not as interesting as they used to be. They're not saying as controversial of shit. They kind of realize that the world has turned against controversial humor, all those sorts of things. So you watch them at dinners and stuff, and they just kind of sit there all content and contained watching football. They realize that, they're going to die in maybe less than 10 years. So most of them are going fuck it. I don't even got much to say anymore. It's not going to play like it used to back in the day, so I'm not going to say it. So, it sucks. I think we need a bit of a reset. I think Minnesota needs a cultural reset. I think we need to go ahead and we need to say that racist grandpas need to be cool again. Make racist grandpas cool again. Make it cool again to where your grandpa can say a little bit of off-color shit. Make it cool again to where, you will be encouraged to be left or leaning because... And not left-leaning to where you're crazy, but you'll be left-leaning in a way that you're a moderate liberal because you have your crazy right-wing grandpa to fight against. And then once you have that to fight against again, by the way, once we have a threat, once we have somebody like that, once the boomers start reinventing themselves, start going ahead and finding their voice again, we can begin to find a leveled out, moderate liberal degree that everybody can adopt. And then everybody will feel good about it because it's against the flow of Fox right-wing mainstream. Fun stuff. Rare astronomical event. Comet 31 Atlas skywatching set for December 19th. Keep an eye out, folks, because scientists and skywatchers are preparing for a major astronomical observation event, as Comet 31 Atlas is only the third known interstellar object to visit our solar system will be observable in the coming days, offering rare scientific insights. Cool. Leading scientists also news include updates on rocket launches, major dinosaur footprint discoveries, and space mission anomalies. Cool. I mean, space in general and scientific anomalies, discoveries, they seem to be going well today, oddly enough. Private investment shifts with AI infrastructure mega funds. New global reports show a surge of private equity and infrastructure fundraising, with AI-focused deals now representing a growing share of venture investment, reshaping the industry of finance. I mean, get into it, folks. Get into AI. Get into it as fast as you can, because it's the future. Barcelona advances in Copa del Rey. Aida Bonmati wins Best Player. Good for them. I don't really give a shit about sports, but I always try to include a little something. Like how the 2025 Women's World Football Championship has concluded. I mean, the 15th Women's World... it's the 15th. Wow, they have not been doing this very long. I'm guessing it's because nobody actually watches. Wrapped up recently with Switzerland defeating the Czech Republic in the finale, marking notable achievement in growing global sport. Cool. That is really, really fun. I don't know what else to say about it because I don't watch women's sports. I don't watch men's sports. I'm sorry. I wish that I could stay updated with it. I don't. But I do stay updated, folks, with our third story because our third story is important. Folks, DoorDasher drivers are ready to kill you. They are ready to poison you. If you don't leave a tip, I'm sorry to say it, you're gone. You're gonna bite into your McChicken that you ordered from McDonald's. You are going to go, this tastes a little strange, and it's going to be blood from your mouth because you're not gonna feel it, oddly enough. The razor blade already down your throat, you're dead. It's over. Because, folks, December 7th, recent, in northern Vanderburgh County, Indiana, near Evansville, a couple began ordering fast food, reportedly from Arby's, via DoorDash late at night. Shortly after eating, the wife began choking, experiencing severe burning in her mouth, nose, throat, and stomach, followed by vomiting. Her husband, reportedly, similar but milder symptoms were experienced. The customer, Mark Carden, noted a red residue on the delivery bag and reviewed his doorbell camera footage, which captured the driver placing the bag on the porch, taking a required photo for the app, and then pulling out a small aerosol canister from her keychain and spraying a substance directly toward the food before leaving. The video quickly went viral. Carden shared it online, prompting widespread concern about food delivery safety. Authorities in Vanderburgh County Sheriff's Office launched an investigation subpoenaing DoorDash records to identify the driver as 29-year-old Courtney N. Stevenson from Kentucky. Jeez Louise. I mean, folks, you watch this footage and it's disturbing. You go, wait a minute, this could be me. You go, I order from DoorDash all the time. And you go, wait a minute. I don't have any time to do anything. Are you telling me that if I just go ahead and I order like a nice little thing from a Chick-fil-A, that I have to worry about some fatty boombatty? Because she is fat. She's really fat. We'll watch the video ourselves and I'll describe it to you. Like, I have to worry about this bitch poisoning me? And I go, yes. Because you need to realize what world you're living in. We are living in a world where it's that I've been saying this before. It's the 1970s again. Assassinations are back. Riots are back. Civil unrest in general and kind of nervousness, psychedelics, all of it's back. You know what I mean? We're in a weird zone again, and I kind of like it. And I don't love it. I don't like that all of this kind of civil unrest is happening. I don't love the assassinations. I don't like any of that. But what I like is what we're getting from it, which is really interesting conversation. Really, really interesting conversation. She was apparently visiting family in the area and working deliveries to make some money. I mean, she clearly does not love her family very much if she came all the way from Kentucky to Indiana and she's out there door dashing. When contacted, Stevenson admitted to using pepper spray but claimed that she was targeting a spider due to her fear of them. I mean, investigators immediately dismissed this explanation, noting the overnight temperature was around 35 degrees Fahrenheit, too cold for outdoor spiders in Indiana to be active. DoorDash immediately deactivated her account permanently, stating that they had zero tolerance for such behavior and cooperated fully with law enforcement. I mean, good, folks. Let's watch this. I want you all to take very noted caution of this. Watch your DoorDashers through the door. Watch their behavior close. These fuckers will steal fries. These fuckers will do nasty shit to your food. They will, and they have. And I'm sorry to say it. I kind of am beginning to understand why that guy in Florida just went ahead and, when his DoorDasher showed up, he just went ahead, opened his door, grabbed him, yanked him into his apartment, and butchered him. I'm kind of like, I'm starting to worry that I might overreact one day because I'm worried that these fuckers are gonna poison me. And if one of them shows up looking a little suspicious, I don't know what I could do. It's terrifying. Folks, let's look at this footage. Let me describe this woman to you at first. She's wearing jeans that are way too tight for her. She has a nice white undershirt. She has a nice leather black jacket that she's wearing when she's carrying this food. She's really fat. I'm sorry, she's big. She has purple dyed hair. She's got rolls on her neck. She's a real, like, Melissa McCarthy without the talent. And she's dressing like she wants to look like Britta from Community. She wants to look like an activist lesbian. And she's walking up to the fucking door. And this will happen to you. This will happen to your children. This will happen to everybody you know. Because DoorDashers are out there. They're ready to kill you. Roll this tape. She walks up. She places it down. It looks like she looks at the tip. But she takes a photo. And then immediately, she's holding the pepper spray in her other hand. And she sprays it. Psst. And then walks away, putting it back in her pocket. I mean, yikes. Folks. Yikes. What else do you say to that? What else do you say? Apparently, this criminal was able to get away with it for 5 days. Stevenson was arrested on December 12th in McCracken County, Kentucky, on an Indiana warrant and was being held pending extradition. Extradition. Can you imagine you're getting extradited for DoorDash-related crimes? This is Old West level shit. I love it. We're going to extradite her. She's going to be persecuted in the proper state that she belongs in because she poisoned a lady with her DoorDash. I love that kind of shit. She's facing multiple felony charges, including 2 counts of battery resulting in moderate bodily injury and 2 counts of consumer product tampering. Can you believe that, like, this is why I tell people, watch out for your anger, because your anger can make you act poorly, and if you make one little poor decision that you really don't think about too much, it can result in your life really changing. This woman probably didn't think too much of it when she went ahead and sprayed her customer's bag with pepper spray. She probably wasn't giving it much thought. She was going ahead and thinking, I'm just going to get out my anger a little bit by psst. Maybe it'll make them, maybe it'll hurt their eyes when they open it, and that'll be it, or something like that. You know, she was just a little vindictive, she was a little petty, and she really wanted to get back at these fuckers for, I don't know, not tipping $15 for Fatty Bombaddy to get in her car and drive across town for us. Sorry. You know, be careful with your anger, because it can lead you to making horrible split-second decisions, and guess what? Felony! She went ahead and played what she probably thought was a minor prank. Boom, 2 felony charges that she's facing. Sheriff Noah Robinson emphasized that the residents should have trusted their delivered food as safe and that deliberate tampering endangers lives, vowing to pursue charges aggressively. The case, covered by outlets like NBC News, Fox News, The Guardian, and USA Today, has highlighted a rare but alarming risk in the gig economy deliveries, though no motive has been publicly disclosed beyond random nature. She was upset that these people didn't give her a tip big enough, or she really was upset that she could not tamper with that seal. You know, the seal that some restaurants have in order to make sure that the DoorDashers aren't Fatty Bombaddies and steal anything. They're not Richard Watersons, where they eat a slice of pizza and smash it together and kind of melt the cheese in order to make it look like nothing happened. I don't know what else to say, folks. Watch out. Watch out. These people are out there. They're ready to kill you. They're ready to poison you. If you do not tip well, folks, tip well, tip decent, do like 10%. That's the average. That's a fair enough amount. I don't know what else to say, folks. This has been a wonderful Wednesday broadcast. I appreciate the fact that you've all been here. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate the fact that you were here, that you got your news from somewhere and you got it from me. You didn't have to, but you did. And that is a gift not only to me, but, to this whole thing that we're trying to do here at Your Brain on Air. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you had a good time listening to it. I hope that it tickled your fancy. I hope that you find something enjoyable in it to where you subscribe. You know what I mean? That's what we do here. We do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday broadcast. And that's what, you'll catch me the next 2 days, and then we take the weekend off. I cannot wait for the next 2 days. It's going to be great. We're going to have a good series of stories. I can just feel it. But in the meantime, folks, this has been Ollie Vogt Larson with Your Brain on Air. Thank you so very much for listening. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. and I'll catch you in tomorrow's upload. But until then, bye-bye.